Okay, this is like my 20th try. My kids keep on coming in. Okay. I reviewed The Murders at the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe. Honestly, one of the reasons I chose this one is because there's 2 deaths, and I do talk kind of fast. I'm worried about filling the 10 minutes up. So, and also my notes are kind of everywhere, so if I take a second to like go like, wait, what did I mean here? I'm sorry. Okay, so let's see. In this story, it was the madam and her daughter. They were found murdered in their apartment. Well, the madam was found in the courtyard, and the daughter was found stuffed up the chimney. Okay, so their doors were locked from the inside, so it's unsure how the suspect got in. And the neighbors said they heard some voices talking. Then it's later found in the story that they were not human voices. Let's see. Okay, we are going to start with our madam. The condition of her body, like I said, she was found outside in the courtyard. She was face down. She had bruises on her body, especially her arms and hands, so that shows like signs of defensive wounds. And then her throat was slashed, and it was so deep that all it was holding on was a couple ligaments. So I'm going to say that the near decapitation was probably the cause of death. So that would make her bleed out very fast. Let's see, you can tell that she struggled because of the bruising patterns and everything, and then because of the wounds in her neck, we know that her carotid arteries are going to be severed, her jugular are going to be severed, and since all that's holding on is her ligaments back there, her trachea, that's going to be severed too. And then her daughter, she was found with like really dark like bruises on her neck, and then her head shoved head first into the chimney, and then there was foaming from her mouth, and she bit her tongue, and I'd say she probably fractured plenty of bones getting strangled and shoved in a chimney. The cause of her death is probably like manual strangulation, asphyxiation for sure, because that would be the cause of death, whether it was from the strangulation or being shoved in the chimney. Because then she would just be breathing in like the soot and probably asphyxiate that way. And then her manner was also a homicide. Let's see. I'd say that like the foaming from her mouth would be probably, that could be a sign of asphyxiation, because that happens, and it could also be purged, so we'd have to continue to assess for that. Okay. Okay, we're gonna step into the timeline now. First, we have to do our initial assessment. We want to do a really good job assessing these bodies, so we know everything we're going to need to do. We need to document any visible injuries we see and start thinking about the process, like what we're gonna do when we embalm, the things that we need to do before embalming and what can wait till after embalming, kind of what strength solution we want to use and everything, kind of what kind of injections we're gonna do. Okay, so for the madam, she had her throat lacerated, right? So I think that we would probably do the restricted cervical injection. And you would inject in the common carotid arteries. And then, let's see, we would probably want to use a high index fluid with her. And we'd want to use a lot of stuff for the leakage, because there's going to be a lot of leakage with that. That's a giant open wound, so we'd probably want to, I think we might want to like use, we'd want to clamp off any vessels that weren't being used because they were going to be cut, right? So to prevent leakage, we'd want to clamp off any of the vessels we're not using for injecting and draining. Maybe even some like of the powder. And since that trachea is probably cut, that's one of the steps that we probably do before embalming is reconstruct the trachea so that the neck doesn't get firm, like in a weird looking way. Okay. Oh, and then because her neck is severed again, we'd probably want to use like a high shirt or something afterwards, or like a scarf or something, because even cosmetics and everything, that people could probably see that, and that would probably like, that would be traumatizing for them. Okay. Oh, and because there's so much open, you want to be careful for distension and everything, because air can enter the body really easily. Let's see, and now we're going on to her daughter. So let's see. Because of the asphyxiation, we might need to do some kind of sectional embalming, or I think that we could also use the restricted cervical here. But I think we'd start with the carotid arteries, and we might even like hypodermically inject the neck to see if we can get rid of some of that discoloration, or we'd have to check, you know, how it is, if it's gonna, if it shows up white or if it doesn't change color, so that we know if it can even be removed. And if it can't, we'll just have to assume we're gonna use cosmetics on those, or we could even try like the bleaching compress. Since it's like a bruising, I don't think that you would be able to remove all of that. Okay, sorry if the kids interrupted. I hope I can submit both these videos and you see them, because I cannot start over again. Okay, so left off talking about the bruising on the daughter's neck. So we've talked about filling up that discoloration and everything. We'd want to use something to, like, you know, reform the eyes. Do that before you embalm, like the eye caps or something in there. We would want to continue to monitor for purge, since she had the foaming of the mouth and everything. And also, because of the trauma, with both these cases, we want to keep an eye out for tissue gas, because that is more common with severe trauma such as these. So we just really need to continue to monitor and re-aspirate as needed. And then I think we'd use plastics for both of them, because there probably would be leakage for both of them. Okay, so now we're going to move on to how the application of the anatomy and proportions can help us, or applies to this. Okay, so in this case, we would be able to use like the rule of thirds, right? Because from the hairline to the brow, and the brow to the nose, and the base of the nose to the chin, we would be able to help reposition all the features that'll probably be distorted from suffocation or trauma. And then we can also use the rule of fifths for how wide the face is supposed to be, because once again, there's going to be some asymmetry on both of these cases, just because of the manner of their death, or the cause of their death. Okay, so I think that also knowing, like, it's hard to know with like the like decapitation or even the suffocation, like the extent of their injuries without seeing them, you know. I feel like there would be more trauma to the daughter's face, because like disfiguration, I mean, because the mom was just like severed, so there'd be more discoloration probably, but then her face wasn't messed with. The girl, she was like strangled. Well, that could cause a lot of discoloration too. She was strangled and then shoved in a chimney, and that's just pretty crazy. It was also pretty crazy that an orangutan killed them. Okay, so let's see. We also want to make sure to give that neck structure, like I said. We probably would have already done that before. But just having a general idea of anatomy and everything you need to know about how big it needs to be, so they don't have like a bulging freaking tube there, you know, and how it's supposed to sit so that their face just looks natural and they'll be in a natural position. And then in order for us to achieve an open casket for these, I think we'd have to use a lot of cosmetic work. We'd have to really treat the discolorations because both of these would have pretty severe discoloration, I believe. We'd also have to be really mindful of the leakage, especially for the decapitation, and have very strong suturing there and everything. And then also I think that she would need a high neck. Like I said, honestly, they both might need something high neck because I don't think we could get rid of either of those discolorations entirely. I think we'd have to use a lot of our color theory and everything to really know how to get rid of a lot of that's going on. We'd want to make sure that we positioned them right, and like I said, like building that trachea to the right size so that seeing them isn't going to cause more trauma than they've already been through by this terrible death that they are going through right now, you know. Okay, and so something that's kind of my final thoughts here is like our jobs as a funeral director, it's not just like technical stuff, it's also emotional stuff. Like we really have to care about these people. We have to care about the size of their trachea, you know. We have to care and take the time and dedicate that to be able to like rebuild things when we need to. And if they want open casket, we need to figure out what we can do to give that to them, unless it's like completely not obtainable. Okay, and then we also like we just need to restore these bodies with peace and dignity, and that a lot of times we're gonna have to deal with the aftermath of like cruelty or injustice. Like, because a lot of deaths happen, especially if it's with children or something that's not naturally, you know. So we're gonna have to deal with handling situations that we've never handled before and adapt to them.